welcome to this very special edition of Young Turks. We come to you from the 2016 edition of India Internet Day in Gurgaon. Now, the theme for the conference this year is Emerging from the Froth, a timely theme, a timely discussion given what we saw in 2015 and a lackluster beginning to 2016 as far as funding is concerned. Today we are going to catch up with a whole bunch of investors and marquee startup founders to find out what they are making of the situation presently. First up, we have Sachin Bansal from Flipkart. He's going to be talking to us about why he thinks down rounds are a part of every life cycle of a startup. He's also going to be talking about why he doesn't see IPOs as an exit strategy and why he's going to be at Flipkart for more than 10 years. And lastly, he talks about how you need to separate criticism from feedback and how his approach to dealing with all the press around Flipkart is.
This year in particular, no matter which entrepreneur you meet and what company you're talking about, it is Flipkart, it can be any other company that you pick, down round seems to be doing the rounds. So what are your views?
Almost every internet company in the world has gone through that in the past, right? Facebook raised, I think, it was 200 million from Microsoft in 2008 at 15 billion, and then the next round after the crash was at 7 billion. Right, and similar things have happened with, us in the past. In 2012, we raised at $1 billion and then 750 billion after that, right? So that's part of, I think a lot of times financial cycles govern this kind of thing, and even today, right? And even today, we are seeing some of that happening. Spotify recently raised a large convertible debt, and it wasn't very pleasant terms. I'm pretty sure that is something that they wouldn't have done unless they had to. The way I think about it is that we need to keep our business interest of the business ahead of everything else, right? It's not. We need to make sure that the business is well capitalized. We need to make sure that that it's growing at a healthy pace, or it is growing in a healthy manner, and all of those things, right? So those factors are more important than whether the valuation was 10 or 11 or 5 or whatever that is, right? So I think in the long term, all those things wouldn't matter.
What would be your opinion on staying private versus going public?
I think these days the depth in private markets allow you to stay private for longer, and you, as any entrepreneur should, you should definitely take advantage of that and stay private for as long as possible. And this is the trend across the companies, right? All the private internet companies in the world, and I think that's a good thing. And a lot of internet companies in the past, they didn't have that option. The private markets weren't that deep, wouldn't invest at that kind of stage of the cycle, or they didn't have the kind of size of the private market. It was pretty small. So I think that's changed quite a lot, and people should take advantage of that. I don't think this is any formula. It depends on company to company. I think if there are some companies which you can go public even at a very small size as well, in very early stage as well, if it makes sense if there's something specific about your business which allows or which demands that kind of approach.
You are not thinking of an IPO now?
No, right now I think again the market continues to be growing pretty fast. We don't need to raise funds. We don't. I think the biggest reason for us to go public would be to tap into the public markets, because the size of public markets still is bigger than the private markets, and that's natural. That's how things are.
If you were to pick some of your own lessons, what would be some of them?
One advice that I would give to people, right, it's a common mistake that people make, is that you should raise funds when you can rather than when you have to. Which means that don't get into a situation where your business needs funds and you need to really look for investors, and that's, you don't push the company to that point. Raise funds when they are available. And that's something that we have followed at Flipkart, and I think it was a learning that we got in 2012 when we were saying, no, let's delay a little bit further. We know that we can command a better valuation, our business performance will go up and all of those things, but eventually that was the wrong call. There's a common saying, right, is that you remember God when times are bad, right? Not when times are good. Most people do, right? But it's important what that translates to from business point of view is that you should be focusing on quality of your business, amount of cash that the business is using, or the amount of the capital efficiency of the business. All of those things you should be focusing on when the things are good, not when the things are bad. But most people do actually think of them when the times are bad.
Do you spend a lot of time hiring people, like the key people, and what do you really look for when you are meeting somebody to hire?
Couple of things which are very important. One is what we call the ownership mindset, and the second is the learning mindset. Of course, I mean, there are basic table stakes on, okay, this person should have some basic experience. I mean, you don't want to put completely person who has never done logistics to become head of logistics or things like that, right? So although that is possible still, but there should be some exposure to scale in the past, if that is a given. But learning and ownership, these are two factors which we look for. If you're a small startup, almost everybody needs to have that mindset, because everybody has large responsibilities. But as you become bigger, the responsibilities of an individual at an entry level become smaller and smaller and more specific and more specialized. From a learning point of view, again, I have seen that a lot of times where people in certain large companies, they lose that mindset over time because of the fact that they are successful in what they have done. They have got there because they were successful in what they were doing, and then over time they tend to think that they know a lot, which is almost always not true. No matter how much you know, you still know very little in the overall scheme of things. Right, so you need to have that mindset to know to accept that you need to learn.
A generation of people actually joined not just Flipkart but many other Indian internet companies, over past year, who came from the valley, and then there were debates about the talent in India, and why do you need to bring people from other seasoned companies, and then there were a lot of conflicting arguments about that. So what do you make of all of that?
We don't think of it from point of view of bringing people from the valley or not bringing people from the valley. I don't think we have any philosophical kind of dogma or something, or some kind of philosophy around this. I think the philosophy that we follow is that we need to find the best talent for that job. It doesn't matter whether what their ethnicity is. It doesn't matter what their backgrounds is. If they are in India, fine. If they are not in India, that's also fine.
As a leader and founder of an important company, how you manage criticism? How do you manage critic? I mean, how do you deal with it?
Criticism is generally good, I think. But it's more useful when it comes from folks who have context and who are passionate about the space. Almost always you'll get to learn something new from them, right? So, especially when it comes from people who know us, I take it. I actually look forward to it. Rather than criticism, let's call it feedback. I think I look for feedback. I do ask for feedback quite a bit myself, and of course, I mean, we make a lot of mistakes. Everybody does, but what I found is that the big difference between actually a successful and a unsuccessful company sometimes very, very little. It's about sometimes it's about just making those extra 1% decisions better. And those 1%, because you are making hundreds of decisions in a week and thousands of decisions in a year, those 1% adds up, and the compounding effect of that is very, very high. So, and the only way to do that is to be truly honest, and people who care about you, people who think deeply about your own, what we are doing, think deeply about what we think deeply about Flipkart and are passionate about it. They provide sometimes very insightful feedback, and we do look forward to it.
Well, that was Sachin Bansal at perhaps his candid best. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking to a whole bunch of investors to find out what the mood is like on the other side of the table. Stay tuned.